Hey guys, naMehTnoJ here. Here for another Who is Better. This Who's Better is Waboku versus Threatening Roar. So first I'll explain what they do and stuff. Waboku is normal trap card. It says you take no battle damage this turn. Your monsters cannot be destroyed as a result of battle this turn. So it has two different effects, but they apply both in the same way, just a little slightly different. One, your monsters are not destroyed battle when you take no battle damage. And so you can activate this with no monsters on the field, you can activate this with monsters on the field, so that's pretty nice. Threatening Roar, normal trap card as well. Your opponent cannot declare an attack this turn. Pretty simple. Now, just so you know, in the video games with Threatening Roar, if you chain it, you have to actually chain it before your opponent's, or activate it before your opponent goes into battle phase, but in real life, you can do that when your opponent attacks because they don't, usually people don't say they're going to the battle phase just to plainly get the game going faster, you know, keep the game at speed. So, but you can activate this when the opponent declares an attack just because most people don't say they're going into the battle phase. Cool thing with Waboku is that a guy called Paul Levington actually brought it into the metagame scene, so to speak, by playing Angular Beast in a return dad format, or dad return format, and he actually won at a show and jump. He came in first and he beat out all the dad return decks. So Waboku never seen any play until then. So alright, so anyways, first off, Waboku is really good in Glider Beast, first off, just so you know, and it's good for Glider Beast decks because reason one is when you attack, or you are attacked by a higher monster, and you want to protect your Glider Beast monster, play Waboku, the monster is considered battled, as long as it's not destroyed, and which Waboku will help protect it, then you can tag out your monster. Threatening Roar is not good for that reason because Glider Beasts need to be able to battle in order for their effects to work. So that's one reason why Waboku is nice. It's also real nice against Blackwing decks or Lightsworn decks, ones that, you know, use Honest and stuff, or Kalut. The reason why is if you attack a lower monster, or a lower monster attacks you, intending to beat you over with an Honest or Kalut, respective to whichever deck, if you activate Waboku, if they don't want their monster to die and live, then they're going to have to drop, let's say, an Honest or Kalut, whichever, for whatever monster, and then you waste one of their cards, and then you get to tag out, and then further proceed to either whoop your opponent's butt or not. So that's one reason why it's nicer to run Waboku and Glider Beast than Threatening Roar. So just for you know. One thing Waboku and Threatening Roar do not protect monsters against is cards like Book of Moon, because this one protects them from being destroyed by battle, but these cards don't. Or it doesn't protect them from like Book of Moon or monster destruction cards such as Smashing Ground. That's one reason why if your opponent plays Waboku, you can always still go Smashing Ground or whatever. So if you want to get rid of their monsters that desperately. One thing that Waboku does not protect monsters against is, once again, monster effects. So if your opponent's monster attacks you and then you play Waboku, let's say this is based on DD Warrior Lady, you can still remove the monster even if you attack them, because DD Warrior Lady has battled the monster, so that has occurred. So now she can remove the monster from play with her effect. Threatening Roar would stop that, and then you could, you know, use some monster destruction to get rid of DD Warrior Lady, but that's just for you to know. Another thing is the way to get around these cards is kind of hard sometimes, especially if you're playing Giant Trunade or Heavy Storm, because your opponent can chain them and you can't do anything for at least that turn, unless you're running, you know, like DD Warrior Lady, like I said. But I mean, they can just get around these because they're chainable, and that's real nice. Well, for your opponent, but not for you per se. So that's, and it's just so you know, if someone goes Giant Trunade and you activate this card, it does not go back to your hand because it resolves first before this, and it goes to the graveyard. So, and that's also for new players, just so you know, new, not noob, new, N-E-W. Another thing, the only way to get around these otherwise is negating them and destroying them through Dark Bribe, Sound Judgment, you know, Trap Negating or such related cards. Another way is if your opponent sets them and you have a preset Dust Tornado or MST, you just pop it before they can use it, and that's another way to get around it. Or if you want to, you can negate them all around. If you attack, they attack, or whatever happens that these are activated, activate something like Trap Stun or Royal Decree. One, you baited their card, and now you have used one of their, you know, use one of your own cards to stop them from using it anymore, or at least for that turn. So it's really nice if you can bait them out you know, then that way you've made them waste a card, so to speak. So that's one thing, you know, you always can use Trap Stun, because if they activate this, or Waboku or Threatening Roar, and you chain Trap Stun, it's negated, and they can't activate, well, they can activate more, but it won't do any good for them, so. And Royal Decree is the same thing. Another thing is Jinzo. Just stop them all around. I mean, stop them from even coming to be activated. So if you summon Jinzo, they cannot activate these. The reason why Trap Stun and Royal Decree are different is because they say their effects are negated. You know, that their effects won't work. But if Jinzo, it stops them from being activated in general. Also from their effects from even working. So, or the only way other ways to get around these is if you're on Ancient Gear monsters. Ancient Gear Beast, Golem, Gajotron Dragon, Knight if he's second summoned, or I forgot the other guy's name, but I mean using the Ancient Gear monsters to attack, because the only way they get around, they can activate Threatening Roar because you're not in the battle phase yet, and the Ancient Gears cannot have their effects activated until they're in the battle phase and they're attacking. But they can't activate Waboku in the battle phase when the Ancient Gear monsters attack. The reason why is because, well, their effects say so. But they can activate Waboku before the battle phase against an Ancient Gear player, because then it won't work. So there are ways to get around these, and you know why they're so good. So it really depends on your deck, on which one you'd rather use. If you run Glider Beast, run Waboku. Don't waste your time with Threatening Roar, because you want your monsters to have battle with your opponent's monsters or whatever. So run Waboku, Glider Beast, or decks that need monsters to battle in order for their effects to kick in. But it won't work against searchers. Like if your opponent activates Waboku and they have a searcher like Giant Rat, it won't work that way because the monster's not destroyed. And Threatening Roar, you know, it depends on certain decks. If you're stalling, this is better in Lightsworn than Waboku, just because it stops the battle all around. So it pretty much depends on what you want to run. But you know, if it's my choice, I would say Threatening Roar. That's pretty much it, guys, and peace.